Welcome to Fox TV News, where everything is true. Man killed by carjackers in St. Anne. The family of 53-year-old Dwight Abrahams are distraught over his callous murder at the hands of carjackers Tuesday night. Abrahams, an auto electrician of Middlesex District in St. Anne, was brutally shot and killed by unknown assailants in Swamp Monique in the parish on Tuesday, May 31. A brother of the deceased, Kirk Abrahams, tweeted this morning, "Heartbroken and torn. Gunmen snuffed out the life of my brother last night in a carjacking in St. Anne. Several persons reacted in horror and sent their condolences." Journalist Earl Marks also responded, "Oh Kirk, I am so sorry bro. I can't begin to imagine your pain." Report from the Monique police are that about 8:30 p.m., Abrahams was at a business establishment in the Monique area when a gold motor car drove up and two men alighted from the vehicle. The men entered the establishment and demanded money and the keys to his motor vehicle. After handing over his keys, one of the men brandished a handgun and shot him in the upper body. The men then escaped in Abraham's black Toyota Wish motor car. The police were alerted and he was taken to hospital where he was pronounced dead. Jamaican-born man shot dead while on phone with sister in New York. A Jamaican-born man who was on his way to visit his mother was shot dead by unknown assailants in Brooklyn, New York on the weekend. The deceased has been identified as Donovan Davey, 45, an employee of the Transport Security Administration (TSA), who worked as a transport security officer at the John F. Kennedy Airport for 17 years. Family members told New York Daily News that he was born in Jamaica but migrated to New York when he was a youngster. It was reported that about 12:20 a.m. Sunday, David was walking along the runway after he finished working late Saturday night. While talking on the phone with his sister, he was pounced upon by an unknown assailant who opened gunfire, hitting him in the neck and leg on a street near East Flatbush. He was later pronounced dead at hospital. In an interview with New York Daily News, David's sister recounted the moment when she heard the gunshots while talking with him on the cell phone. "I heard 3 shots and I was calling his name but he wasn't responding at all. I just couldn't believe it. I heard my brother die over the phone," said the woman, who asked for her identity not to be published. She said during their final conversation, she had inquired where he was, to which he responded that, "I'm walking fast like a chicken with his head cut off." His sister described him as being very intelligent as he was fluent in both Spanish and French. He was also a lover of traveling and was planning to take a trip to Thailand with his family in January next year, the sister stated. David's cousin Courtney Davey, who also spoke to reporters, said his relative was not involved in any criminal activity and was inside his home most times. "He was a happy-going guy. I never know him to have any beef with anyone," the cousin said. So far, investigators have been unable to locate Jamaican's native shooter. The lawmen confirmed that Davey had no criminal history, the report said. 7-year-old deaths shock St. James community. Residents of the rural community on Tuesday struggled to understand why a 7-year-old was found dead in bushes near his mother's house with wounds to his head and blood oozing from his nose and mouth. United in grief and shock, most did not want to be identified by name as they gathered at a community shop and spoke of the incident. One man who identified himself as a relative of young Aiden said the boy's mother told them how she discovered his body about 6 a.m. She had got pipe, so she had brushed her teeth, and she said she see one man pass. After she see the man a pass, she said, "Look, how that they saw? A down there, so them go behind the tree. Them see the little youth fall up down there," he told reporters. Fire take the youth, and the youth belly starts swell, the relative added, distraught. According to the man, neighbors last saw Aiden on Sunday. That is the day his mother went to Cambridge to get him. Ever since he was 3 months old, he had lived in Cambridge with his stepfather and his stepfather's mother, Sandra Bartley. "I did not hear anything else until this morning when she called and said if Aiden up here," Bartley reported. "When she wake this morning, she no see Aiden on the bed, so she a beg her call me, and me say no, I don't see him. She call back and say, Auntie, Aiden dead. And me ball out now and wake up everybody," Bartley explained. "Every part of me cut up. What could Aiden possibly do for somebody to lick Aiden them way there? The boy is so nice to me. Sometimes him hug me up tight and say, Auntie, me love you, she said, her voice thick with grief. Also, most those left mourning on Tuesday were Aiden's classmates. He was in the first grade at Bickerset Primary School. The school is really suffering from this loss. It was only 2 weeks ago that one of our teachers lost her husband in an accident, so we are going through a serious period of mourning, said Principal Robert Garden. According to Acting Police Chief for the St. James Division Superintendent Carlos Russell, they have not at a point ruled the boy's death a murder, but simply a death being investigated. He confirmed that a relative was taken in for questioning. On Tuesday, Bartley spoke of how much Aiden's mother had loved her child. She really loved Aiden, always a thought about her one son, and I have to remind her sometime that she have a daughter who is my granddaughter as well, she said. Prime Minister Andrew Holness recognizing the legacy of the Most Honorable Edward Seaga.
There is no question that Edward, Philip, George, Seaga, Papa Eddie, Blinds, is that right? That he has served well. That he has given his life to the people. And that his legacy lives on through the people that he has served, through the people who he has taught, who he has groomed, who he has assisted, and they have obviously seen it fit to honor him doubly for his work. A part of his work in the constituency was to improve the infrastructure. For me, it is a story, not an experience, because I would have known him in the later part of his life. But the story, obviously, is that for many areas in West Kingston, the living condition was below what the society would accept as standard and appropriate. Substandard, back a wall. And his vision was to uplift the community by improving housing and other civil infrastructure, but to also improve quality of life by improving the social infrastructure, schools, nurseries, and community centers, health centers, parks, and markets. And he spent quite a bit of energy building both the civil infrastructure and the social infrastructure. He didn't get to complete it. He would have seen the development of Tivoli Gardens. He would have seen one of the things he always spoke about was the creche. Of course, he was the first person to introduce that term to me in describing a nursery. Or some people say creche. So he always spoke glowingly of that. He always spoke glowingly of the dance troupe from Tivoli High School. He always spoke glowingly of the football team. And in his later years, he took it as his personal mission to support the team and ensure that the team does well. And he gave me a bit of advice, which might sound ironic, but he said, Andrew, don't bother get involved with football. Because it was not an easy thing to do. Don, sitting with you, can tell you the struggles that he went through personally to ensure that the team could go on, including personal financial sacrifice, including, and it may not be appropriate to say it, but so that you get an insight into the man, you can understand his love. You know, a national leader, an icon, must maintain his stature and his pride. And it is oftentimes a diminution to pick up the phone several times over to call for sponsorship. But his love for the football made him put that aside, and he would pick up the phone several times to call. I know this because I happen to be one of the persons he would call several times. That's how much he loved you guys. And every ball you kick, you should remember Mr. Siaga. I was working in his office, I believe it was at Grenada Crescent. And you know when a child would have achieved a major task, how gleeful and happy they were. I remember when he got his first trade as a footballer, of a footballer from West Kingston. How happy he was. Major achievement. Prudence, you remember? Yes, full up. It was a real achievement, and he had great hopes that he would be able to, through football, discover many, many more young talents and get them onto the international stage. That's how much he loved the community.
Please remember to subscribe, like, share, and click the notification bell for daily updates.